What's up, guys? My name is Carter, and I want to show you how to use Bitmex if you're just a beginner getting started, or if you are a holder of cryptocurrency, specifically of Bitcoin, how to use it as a hedge in your portfolio. So we're going to go through the kind of the beginning ins and outs of how this platform works, why it's so effective, and then also show you some tips and tricks that you can use very easily in order to become a better and more well-rounded investor, trader, whatever it is you're trying to do. Try to break this complicated world down to some very, very simple and easy to follow steps. So thank you for joining me. Really appreciate it. If you don't have a Bitmex link yet, or a Bitmex account, I should say, there's a link right below. You can click on that and go sign up. You can go to coinmastery.com/Bitmex. And even if you just want to mess around, they have demo accounts. You can see here, I'm on the testnet. This allows you to practice with no real money, and you can get used to trading. You can get used to doing some of these different strategies that can make a huge difference for you. So go make sure you have an account, use that link. I get a small commission if you decide to use it. I really appreciate it. And in the meantime, I would love to show you guys how to get set up and how to use this most effectively. All right, great. So you go and you get a new account. What's going to happen is when you get a demo account, you are going to get dropped into this screen, right? So this is what's called the wallet, and it's only going to give you 0.01, what's called XBT. Now, if you don't know, Bitmex is a trading platform, but it's different than things like Coinbase or Gemini. Bitmex is what they call a futures platform. Now, for all intents and purposes, it's really the same thing, but they call it XBT because you're trading contracts and you're matching with other people that are selling contracts. And so all these people are getting matched together, and that's how the price is determined. And there's so many people doing it all at once, you can get really, really accurate price readings as opposed to something like Coinbase, which may have a much smaller amount of people doing that. So that's the reason why you might see XBT, but we're going to refer to that as Bitcoin for this because it's basically the same terminology, just a little bit of a technicality. So you'll see it in there. If you create a real account, what you would do is you would click this deposit button, and it would give you a Bitcoin address. You'd go buy some Bitcoin on an exchange, send it over to Bitmex. But we're just going to use what they give you for free in the demo account. It's not real money, unfortunately, but it is enough that we can go and get started. And so let's flip over. We go over to the trade area, and this is when it gets really interesting. This is probably what most of you have seen. This is probably what you're most interested in. And what we're going to do is we're going to walk through the different parts of this screen, and then we're going to show you how to use it, and then also some really good strategies and tips that you can use. So make sure you stick around for the whole video. Hit the thumbs up button in the video description, and we'll rock this out. So over here on the left, you see, we'll start at the top where it says place order. On the very left is called a limit order. What a limit order is that you set the price where the order will be filled. So if you're buying XBT or Bitcoin in this sense, you expect the price to go up. So the green buy button, you want to buy it when you think price is going to go up. You're buying low, you're selling high. The red, when you want to sell, is when you think that the price of Bitcoin is going to go down. So you're selling high and then you're going to rebuy back low. So that's how this all works. And then up above it, you are buying a USD amount of Bitcoin at the price that either you set using a limit order, or if you went over to a market order, you would buy and sell it at whatever it's trading at right now. So you can see that it's 6,455.5 right now. But let's say you wanted to, when it got down to 6,450, that's when you'd want to set up your buy order. You'd put in the price, you'd press buy, and it would activate it, and you'd see the position come up here. And we'll do a few of these in a couple minutes. I just want to go through one time, and then we can get into actually executing a few of these. What you also see is that you buy $100 worth of Bitcoin. Right below these buttons, you'll see the cost. And what's nice about Bitmex is if you roll over these, it gives you a bit of a description. So if you ever have questions, you can just scroll over these question marks, and it'll explain what it is you're looking at. But right below the buy button, you can see where it says cost is 0.0155 XBT. That means that if you want to buy $100 worth at $6,450 price, you're going to be spending 0.0155 Bitcoin to get $100 worth, right? Now, here's where it gets interesting. Down here, you have this beautiful gradient of green to red called the leverage button. Now, this is what Bitmex is really known for. And let me be very, very clear about this. Bitmex often gets a bad reputation because of this thing, this leverage scenario or functionality, I should say, because you can get really crazy with this. And what leverage does is it allows you to take your money and leverage it as if you had more than you are actually using. In other words, instead of putting up 0.0155 Bitcoin to get $100 worth, if I went up to 5x leverage, do you see how that cost dropped down to 1/5 of what it was before? So now it's 0.0031. So I only have to put up this much Bitcoin at 5x leverage to still get that $100 worth of buying power. And if you go up to 10x, you can see now it's 1/10 the amount to still get that $100 worth of buying power. Now, if it was that easy and if it was, no risk, no reward, we'd all be in here going full leverage all the time. But that's not how it works. The higher you go with this leverage, yes, the less you have to put up, but the smaller your margin of error can be. Right? And when we go through an example, you'll see what I mean with this. But I would definitely not recommend anybody who's getting started go above 3x on your leverage when you're just getting into this. I mean, 5x maybe if you know what you're doing, but I really wouldn't recommend anything else. And more importantly, guys, this is not professional advice. I have to say this. I'm not any sort of registered advisor. This is purely for educational purposes only. So please be smart with your money and realize that this can get very dicey very quickly. That's why I think it's so important to stay on the low end. So let's start off with 2x leverage just to keep things simple. We're going to put up 0.007 Bitcoin to get $100 worth. And you know what? I'm going to do a market order because I just want to buy it right now. You click market order. It's going to give you this confirmation screen. You can double check and make sure everything that you have here is all set. It gives you a bit of a disclaimer, or I should say a warning really, which is what it is. You can choose not to have it shown again, and it'll give you all the prices that you need to know. Now, specifically, the big price is this estimated liquidation price. This means that if the price of Bitcoin gets to this price, in this case, 4,325, Bitmex is going to liquidate your position, meaning it will take all 0.0077 Bitcoin. It'll take it as kind of like collateral on your position. So you're putting up that money. They're letting you borrow all of this leverage. But if your position drops down, by the time it gets down to that bottom one, they're going to say, you know what, it can't go down any farther. We're repossessing your money. So that's what it means when you hear someone getting liquidated. And the higher your leverage, the closer this liquidation price is to your purchase price. So for example, if I jump this up to 10x, this liquidation price all of a sudden is now 5,900. You go up to 25x, it's up to 6,251. Right? So you can see how you have very, very little margin of error as your leverage goes up, which is why you really want to keep the leverage low. Gives you a nice cushion so that if price goes up and down, you don't have to stress out, and more importantly, don't lose your money as quickly. So this all looks good. And I'm going to click buy. And what you see is, click that. It'll give you a little bit of a tutorial where you can move around these charts and stuff like that, where I just bought, let's see here, 0.0155 Bitcoin worth using 2x leverage. And it shows you the liquidation price. It shows you all your different stats. And it'll also show you your unrealized profit and loss. It'll also show you your realized, meaning realized is how much you've actually closed, like that's locked in. And unrealized is how much is still in the market, how much is still being moved around. And you can see that we're already down 0.72% because, obviously we're not using very much and the market isn't moving a whole lot right now. But you can see all the stats that you really need to see. Now, the same thing would be true if you wanted to sell on the other side. You would sell it, and then all the same stats would come up. Now, here's a big thing that a lot of people mess up, especially if you're just getting started. So let's say you bought this and you're looking at it and you're like, you know what? I should have bought more, but I really wanted to do it at 5x instead of 2x. I should have done more leverage, which, some people decide to do that. I'm not saying you should, but some people do. And what they'll do is they'll come up here and they'll say, okay, well, I'll buy another $100, but this time I want to do it at 5x. Now, if you click this while you have an open order, it goes back and it retroactively affects your current orders. And while you may think, okay, well, I can handle that liquidation price, the one thing that's different about BitMEX against buying regular Bitcoin is that you're borrowing money for this leverage. And the more leverage you use, the more money you're borrowing. So you're immediately taking a hit by having more leverage, by having a bigger leverage position, because you're borrowing more. It's like taking out a loan and paying interest on it. But keep that in mind. Once you pick your leverage limit, it's going to affect everything that's on the order books as it stands. All right, so we're going to go back down to 2x. We're on the demo account, so we can get pretty creative about this. If you're on a live account, you definitely don't want to get too cute about what's going on here. And we bought it. We entered at 64.57. Look at this. It's up to 64.60. There is a bit of a fee when you buy at market, which you can always check out. If you go to account, there's a fee section. And that's why it's showing there's a tiny loss, even though the price has gone up a little bit. So keep that in mind. So the next thing you want to do, especially if you are trading, is you want to determine what your exit may be. So let's say, okay, 64.60 is great, but I want to make sure that if this price just kind of spikes randomly, I want to make sure that even if I'm not on my computer, it sells. So let's say you want to, if it goes up to 65, let's call it 65.80, I want to sell that $100 worth of Bitcoin. And you can click sell, right? And this is a limit order now because you're setting the price. And when you click sell, see how it says active orders here? And you can see on the graph where now what's going to happen is if the price goes up to 64.80, that it's going to sell $100 worth of Bitcoin, which is exactly how many we have. And it's going to zero us out, but we're going to keep the profits. So do you see how this is really like it seems complicated, but it's actually not. You're really just saying, all right, is it going to go up or is it going to go down? Am I going to use 1x, 2x, 3x leverage, maybe 5x, but definitely nothing more than that until you know what you're doing. Cross just means there's no leverage whatsoever. Cross just means you're using all your own coins basically. Which if you have a ton of Bitcoin, that's great. But most people are going to be using leverage. That's why you use something like BitMEX. And you're going to make buy your Bitcoin. And then, as any good trader would, you would set your sell limits. Potentially you set your stop loss. If you want to know how to do that, we'll have some videos coming out. You'll probably see this in a playlist at some point. Check down below and we'll go through all the different trades that you can do over here, like stop limit, trailing stop, all this good stuff. And then you're done. And then you sit back and you wait and see what happens with the price. And if it goes down too much, you can exit out, start over. If it goes up and you clear your position, great. And you can wait for your next setup. So it's really easy to do. There's a ton of volume. You can see all the orders that are coming in over here. Over here on the left, you can see all the different people that are bidding in real time. Now we're obviously on the test net, so you're seeing a lot of small bids coming in. This would be very different if you were looking at the live network, but it's still the same. It gives you a good example of what to do. And the same thing is true if you ever want to trade something other than Bitcoin. So let's say you were interested in buying Ethereum, but you wanted to use some leverage. You could do that in something like BitMEX where you'd come in, same process, let's say 3x, you'd buy 5 contracts. Now this is a little different than the XBT Bitcoin because this is contracts, this is not US dollars. So each contract is going to be worth 216. And if you ever want to get more information on how this stuff works, the different coins and the futures and the options. Well, again, we'll have videos down. I'll keep making these every few days. I'll put these in the playlist. I just want to introduce it to you so that you know how to get started, especially if you're just being a beginner. So if you're just getting started, you set up your account, you're trading Bitcoin, you're either buying long, you're going short, you buy your first $100 using low leverage, and that's it. That's really how it goes. Now, I promised a few tips and tricks, especially for somebody who's maybe purchased some Bitcoin in the past or done some trading in the past. A few things that I have found to be very helpful in any sort of trading environment for your portfolio health. So let's say you own like 10 Bitcoin. You're a total baller. You got 10 Bitcoin and you bought it and it's sitting on your cold storage wallet, right? On your Trezor somewhere, or it's on your Coinbase account. And you're seeing the overall charts, and we can go to, let's say, like the 4-hour chart where you zoom out and you're like, man, it goes up, but then it comes down and it goes up. And I don't really know if it's going to, like, what it's going to do. I would rather not have to think, I don't want to have to ride these waves like crazy based on what the market price is. So what you can do is something called hedging. And all the big investors, hedge funds, that's why they have their name, investment banks, professional traders, anything like that. They use instruments like futures, which is what Bitmex is, as a way to hedge their bets. So here's what a theoretical person would do. You have let's say you have 10 Bitcoin over on your Coinbase account. You might come over here and say, listen, I don't want 10 Bitcoin worth of exposure to all this price movement. I'm going to go and do 5x leverage, and I'm going to buy, in this case, let's say $10,000, which is like 1.5 Bitcoin at these price, give or take, right? And so what this means is that I am going to get exposure to 1.5 Bitcoins. I should say we could probably do, it would be 10 Bitcoins, so we get 60,000. That's more like it. This would equal my long exposure, which is owning the Bitcoin. But if I did 5x leverage, I would only have to put up 1.8, and I would do a short position on this. So this would now be short with leverage, but I only had to put up a little bit. So if the market goes down, I'm going to make money on it going down. If the market goes up, my regular assets are going to appreciate. But net, no matter which direction it goes in, I'm going to break even until the market itself, I'm much more confident in the overall trend. Do you see what I'm saying? Let me say that again. You own 10 Bitcoin. Over here on Bitmex, you put up essentially 10 Bitcoin, but you go short at 5x leverage. No matter which direction, if you go up or you go down in the market, you're not losing or gaining any real money except for fees and things like that. So that during volatile periods, you're canceling yourself out all the time. You're not gaining, you're not losing. And then when things start to go really big again and the bull runs come back, you can just cancel your short position. And then all of a sudden you're back to just having a long position and you can go long. Similarly, if it starts to really tank, you can potentially sell your Bitcoins and you've got a great short position set up. But it's just a way to cancel yourself out or to lessen the blow during volatile, almost boring times. So that's one of the first tricks that a lot of people just never do. And they never think about Bitmex as a tool like that. Especially if you're a beginner, you wouldn't think about that. But even people that have accounts. The other thing you can do, which is really great, is if you just go to 1x leverage, all the way down here. Servers are busy sometimes. That's why you get these funny messages. But anyway, when you go down to 1x and you go short, that's essentially like using cash. And so if you don't want to have to move this over to, your fiat currency account or whatever it may be at any given moment, and you just want to be able to switch quickly into cash or into a cash similar position, you can just go short at 1x and you're basically in a cash similar position. And if the market is working for you, you can see how you can collect fees. And again, if you want to learn more about that, go into your account, read the fee section. You can actually make money. You can get paid back if you do limit orders below the price or above the price, depending on where you are, as opposed to market orders, which is always great. And so you can see the market's starting to move a little bit more. We're still in the demo account, so it's hard to see real price action. But this is a very, very terrific tool. It's not just about going on 100x margin and trying to make a ton of money. It's actually very helpful, even if you have a full portfolio. So we will do more videos. We'll put them in a playlist. We'll link it below. In the meantime, you should go get a Bitmex account, even if it's just a demo account. Start trading on it. Send this to somebody who's a trader or who has some Bitcoin, who maybe is never really thought of Bitmex, or has wondered, why should I use Bitmex? What's it all about? What's leverage all about? Send this to them because it may give them some ideas, especially if they've never used a platform like this, and it can bridge the gap. In more videos, we'll get into what these other tokens can do and different strategies. But for now, go sign up on the link below, coinmaster.com/Bitmex. Get set up with a regular account or a demo account, and make your first trade in a demo account and get used to the platform. And I can't wait to see you in the next few videos. All right, I'll see you later. Peace out.